Welcome back to The Explainer. So, today we're unpacking a truly fascinating historical transition. We're looking at the exact moment humanity finally figured out how to scientifically study its own mind. I mean, for centuries, right, the human brain was treated as this completely inaccessible, locked black box. The inner workings of our consciousness, totally beyond the reach of hard measurement. Let's look at exactly how we finally found the key to unlock the whole shebang. Seriously, take a second and ask yourself, how do you measure a thought? It's incredibly easy to measure a physical object out there in the real world. You can weigh a rock to find its mass, or you can grab a ruler to find the exact dimensions of a plank of wood. But how on earth do you capture a completely invisible mental process? The mechanics of actually quantifying a feeling, or a fleeting memory, or a sudden decision happening inside your own head, it's a profound puzzle. Really, it's one of the most complex challenges our early thinkers ever faced. Okay, let's dive into this. To understand how we ultimately solved that puzzle, we first need to ground ourselves in the modern definition. We kind of have to establish exactly what the end goal of this field became so we can really appreciate the immense historical hurdle of actually getting there. Today, psychology is defined as the scientific study of human behavior and mental processes. And notice how elegantly this bridges the absolute totality of the human experience. It encompasses both our outward actions, the human behavior that everyone else out in the world can observe and record, and our inner minds, those mental processes that only we experience subjectively. It's literally the ultimate tether between the things we do out in the world and the invisible things we think internally. But out of that entire definition, there is one specific word that changes absolutely everything, and that word is scientific. That single word is the absolute hinge for our entire explainer today. Because, well, the study of our minds wasn't always a science. That status had to be rigorously earned. Being scientific requires empirical data, repeatable methodology, objective measurement, things that are incredibly difficult to apply to the invisible landscape of the human mind. To fully appreciate this incredible leap to science, we actually need to rewind way back to the ancient past. Long before this field involved any laboratories, peer-reviewed data, or rigorous methodologies, it was simply a linguistic concept. It was just this abstract idea embedded deep in the language of ancient civilizations who were desperately trying to categorize their own rich inner lives, but without any of the tools of modern measurement. The very word we use every single day breaks down into two distinct Greek roots, psyche and logos. Put them together, and it literally translates to the study of mind. It's a real aha moment when you realize the very DNA of the word tells us exactly what our ancestors were trying to do. They recognized they had this incredibly complex internal world operating within them, and they desperately wanted a framework to study it. But without the modern scientific method at their disposal, humanity entered what we call the philosophical era of the mind. This is a vast, sweeping period of history where our deepest thinkers, scholars, and early pioneers basically pondered human nature entirely through logic, debate, and deep internal reflection. They had to rely on rational argument rather than hard, observable data. Because they were leaning so heavily on introspection rather than measurable external data, psychology remained just a subfield of philosophy for generations. For centuries, the study of mind was basically trapped entirely within the realm of theoretical philosophy. You'd have these great thinkers formulating brilliant theories about human motivation, memory, and emotion, but they couldn't definitively prove any of it. Without hard metrics, it remained this abstract concept, not a measurable reality. And this brilliantly illustrates a massive historical divide. On one side, you have everything before the year 1879. That's the era of philosophy, defined by debate and theory. But on the other side, you have 1879 and beyond, the era of hard science, defined by data and experimentation. The entire history of human self-understanding is split cleanly in two by this single transformative year. It is a total paradigm shift in how we approach our own existence. So what was the exact catalyst in 1879? Well, this is the scientific turning point where we leave those theoretical debates in the dust and enter the precise, rigorous world of the scientific method. This right here is the definitive moment humanity finally figured out how to strip away the pure abstraction and bring the human mind into the controlled, sterile environment of a laboratory. We slow right out of that long, unquantified era of philosophy directly into our turning point year of 1879, dropping a pin straight down in Leipzig, Germany. The establishment of a dedicated laboratory there fundamentally propelled psychology into its official scientific status. It provided the actual physical space necessary to move from merely thinking about thinking to actually testing it. And the brilliant catalyst responsible for this monumental shift in Leipzig? A researcher named William Wundt. Wundt carries immense historical weight because he was the individual who ultimately shifted the entire methodology. He recognized that to truly understand the mind, we had to stop relying purely on philosophical debate. We had to start designing experiments that could yield objective, quantifiable data. He was essentially the inventor of a whole new scientific era. Let's move to and see how this builds. Wundt took 3 highly logical steps that permanently changed history. Step 1, he established the very first psychological laboratory, creating a dedicated environment for controlled observation. Step 2, he conducted groundbreaking experiments focused specifically on reaction time. And step 3, by successfully applying a measurable scientific method to a mental process, he literally single-handedly allowed the entire discipline to achieve recognized scientific status. Let's dive a little deeper into why this was so utterly revolutionary. Just imagine stepping into that Leipzig lab back in 1879. Wundt is testing exactly how long it takes for a person to consciously register a sound or a flash of light, and then physically react to it by pressing a telegraph key. Now, I know, that sounds remarkably simple to us today. But back then, absolute revolution. Why? Because that tiny little gap of time between hearing the sound and pressing the key wasn't just empty space. That gap was the mental process itself. For the very first time in human history, the duration of an invisible thought was being physically timed, quantified, and recorded. He wasn't just measuring a reflex. He was literally measuring the speed of consciousness. Which brings the story perfectly full circle back to the modern definition we established earlier, the scientific study of human behavior and mental processes. Wundt's elegant reaction time experiment perfectly married these two concepts. He created the setup where an internal, invisible mental process, like registering a sound, directly triggered an outward, measurable human behavior, pressing a button. He proved, definitively, that the inner workings of the mind could actually be studied as a rigorous science. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to consider how profoundly this applies to your immediate reality right now. Every single time you catch a falling object, hit the brakes in sudden traffic, or hey, even just process the audio of my voice at this very second, you are utilizing the exact internal mechanics that William Wundt first managed to quantify. So, what are your mental processes doing right now? And exactly how fast is your reaction time? Just think about the remarkable machinery operating right behind your eyes as you navigate your day. Thanks so much for joining me to explore the birth of psychology, and keep wondering about the incredible science happening inside your own mind.